live with passion, connect with love, and ask for help from people who are there to help you.
Gil, it's a real privilege, pleasure, honor. What can I say? Words fail me to have you with us today. Thank you very much for joining us all the way from Bali. You're living a wonderful life. Hopefully we could do the same in our own lives. So firstly, welcome. Gil, tell us about yourself, a little bit, about you and your background.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm a believer that messages need to get out there. Messages need to get out there to more millions of people, the right people. I love the concept of message in the bottle. Myself, where do I start and how much do I not say is always kind of the challenge, because I've gone through a very, very busy, detail-oriented, adventurous life full of successful failures and businesses. I've been a young entrepreneur since the age of 13. I've been playing around with businesses, and those journeys of being an entrepreneur and took me around the world. I've been an immigrant since the age of 10 because my parents wanted to move around, and through those journeys with my family moving countries and through my own entrepreneurial journey, I've discovered quite a lot about my challenges and inefficiencies and things that school never taught me and things that family and society never taught me, which is really the importance of those relationships around me. And how do I nurture them, and how do I build them, and how do I scale them, and how do I sometimes need to monetize them if there is a need? And that's been a really cool journey for the last 10 years. I've been really enjoying surfing that wave of understanding human networking at a very high level. I've been very privileged to build businesses and relationships with people who I saw as my mentors and role models: Keith Ferrazzi, Tony Robbins, Eckhart Tolle, Jay Abraham. I've built deep relationships and big businesses around them using authentic networking approach and using a more strategic and more clear, more mindful approach to building relationships. And with all that said, being a father of 3 kids today, living in Bali, being able to spend some time in our edible gardens with the kids in the morning and doing some philanthropy in the afternoon, I'm really enjoying how life has given me this opportunity to serve people from something that's so simple, teach them the importance, the authenticity, the honest part of human networking.
No, that's wonderful to hear that, Gil, because you already are, as far as I'm concerned, and that's the reason we're talking, a voice of the future. You are projecting your voice through your networking and connectivity with millions of people. My key question is, sometimes when I'm describing what I do as a futurist, people say, what the hell is that? And then when I ask you the question, you are a network guru, you are a business advisor. How would you capture the work that you do in terms of impacting both individuals and then towards businesses?
It's a really wonderful question. So, I've had a lot of time to mess things up in my own life, in the world of professional relations and human connections. And I've done it both in my personal life and in my business life. So I've learned a lot from my own experiences. Being 43 years old, I've had time. I've also been very fortunate to work with a lot of students at universities, and I've been a mentor to hundreds and hundreds of companies around the world. So I've also been able to learn from their own experiences. I personally don't call myself a networking guru. I've been called that by many. I've been on the covers of many, many magazines as a networking guru. I see myself as the #1 student of human networking in the world, because I've really taken it seriously in the last 6-7 years, especially studying the arts, the sciences of it. What does it mean to build confidence if you're showing up in a new city, in a new country, you don't speak the language very well, you need to get a job so you can help your family? Like, what does that mean? Like, how can networking help you to adjust yourself, to adjust your communication skills? You don't need to speak English perfectly to work in an English-speaking culture. I didn't, my English is my 3rd language and I had to develop it. So I've learned that networking can, one, be applied to self. Build friendships, find better hobbies, find your passions, find love in your life, build communities, join the right clubs, find the right school for your kids, move countries. If you're bad at networking, moving countries is a nightmare. it's worse than roller coasters. And that's just life, because if you're good at networking, if you're developing yourself, you can easily move countries, change industries. That's just life. On a business level, I don't understand entrepreneurs who don't utilize effective networking, who are not studying networking. They think, oh, I know it. Oh, I'm an 8 out of 10 on networking, Gil. I'm excellent at networking. No, you're not. You're selling. You're not good. So I try to tell them that, any business of any size, whether it's a startup that's now building up a team and starting to, formulate the community around them, trying to attract investors and mentors, without being an effective networker, you're just going to waste a lot of time and energy. Or whether you're a larger companies, most of my clients now are quite much bigger these days, 10, 20, 100, $500 million. The small ones are like $5, $10 million. I really like them because they have a lot of flexibility on what they could do. A company today that's doing $10 million a year and now is ready to 2x, 5x their business, they need effective networking. They need strategic partnerships. They need to think outside of traditional business development or traditional marketing. They need to understand that showing up at the right events and learning how to follow up with people, learning how to brand yourself, learning how to brand yourself both at events, offline, as well as online. How do you brand yourself? There's so much details there that can make someone's life easy. They can really, I keep on doing it with clients. I help my clients during COVID to stay afloat. I've helped some clients to expand into 3 countries. I think you know that I've lived in Russia for many, many years. So we have a huge network of people in Russia, a massive network of people in Ukraine. And when the war started, many of them reached out to me and I said, yeah, let me help you. I helped some of them enter the US market, enter the Dubai market, come to Singapore, come to Indonesia. It was very easy for me to help them see how effective, authentic, strategic networking can help them completely change their business around.
You hit a very important word, which I was going to dwell on a little bit, and that is authenticity. Because the networking has a bad rap, because a lot of people just do it because it's the dumb thing and it's fake, and they're just trying to get business cards or get connections. And how do you make networking and connections with people authentic and heart-based? And what are the sort of tools and tricks tools and methodologies that we need to be able to apply?
Yeah, it's a very, that question could be taken very, very deep, because for me, networking is our set of spiritual rituals. They're very deep habits that I've learned to take on in life. And the way before going to sleep, I'm not on my phone randomly doing things. I'm thinking about my day tomorrow, and I'm prioritizing. Do I want to spend time with these people? And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to have great meetings and great interviews and great coaching with these people. I'm already putting great intentions into it. And, in the mornings, I'm thinking, wow, what sort of people do I wish that I can suddenly meet today because I'm going to this event? Like, I'm literally manifesting the sort of people I want to meet. And when I show up at events, I try to have a how can I help you mindset. So I'm very curious. I ask people questions, what they do, why they do what they do, how long they've been doing it for, what kind of clients are you looking for, what kind of strategic partnerships are you open for? I ask them questions from a position of like, let me see if I can change your life and business in 1 minute. For me, it's fun. And I wasn't born this way. I've been practicing a lot. So I've gotten better at it. So the how can I help you mindset is important. The curious mindset gets us talking less than them. So I love being authentic. For me is listening to others, really listening to them, not holding a phone and a drink while trying to hold a conversation. Yeah. I don't think it's easy to have authentic relationship, conversations in loud bars, for example, which is why I don't go to such places anymore. For me, building an authentic connection with someone is knowing, number one, why am I there? Like, why have I shown up to this event? Like, am I looking to sell my product and service to people? No, I'm looking to connect with people who I can have a good rapport with for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And depending on what kind of product I have, I can mention my product and see if they're interested. I don't need to say, okay, now you're in a cage that you can't really leave me. I got to talk to you for the next 20-minute pitch. No, like, I can mention something I do by relating it to them somehow, or by listening carefully what they're saying and say, that's interesting. Actually, I'm currently working with a client who's going through something very, very similar. And suddenly that person asks you, really, what kind of client? What do you do? So It's almost like allowing someone to show interest in me. I think that's also a much more authentic way. And the best way is really to follow up. Following up is such a beautiful aspect of human relationships. And it's such an important part of authentic networking to not follow up and say, here's my business website. Following up and saying, hey, it was great meeting you. I really appreciate our conversation. Let me know if there's any other art galleries like this one that we visited yesterday you're going to go to. I'd love to join you. Or, hey, by the way, I'm going to a similar conference next week. Let me know if you want to join. Or, I noticed that you're on your business card, your office is actually 5 minutes away from mine. Hey, I'd love to have coffee with you later on this week. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what your company needs are. Something like that, you know?
Yeah, I learned that little hack that you did, the 1 minute voice note, and then really practice the 1 minute voice note. I mean, because I would rather talk to people as a person than just send them a flat email or a WhatsApp. And since I listened to you a few years ago with that, I actually do 10 to 15 minutes every single day of voice notes to everybody. And I make greater progress in 15 minutes than 4 hours sending emails. And people don't read emails. It's crap. I mean,
100%.
Yeah, and also to humanize it, because you know, my colleagues of mine always say, he said, well, your emails are, you know, always about love and hugs and how's the family, and, you know, why don't you just get to the point? I said, dude, that's who I am. So for me, the voice element actually became very natural, and I do that all the time. And so thank you for that. I mean, I used to do.
Let me just add to that, if I can, for those out there who might not have context with it, and it's also a hack for you to use. I haven't written an email in more than 7 years. If someone wants to communicate by email, and some people do, I will do a voice message to my assistant and she will write the email. I just don't want to sit there and write and check my own grammar and stuff. I don't have time for that. The voice messages are very powerful for 3 different levels. One, people who are in your immediate network that you're talking to once every week, once every 2 weeks. It's just a nice way to stay in touch. What's going on? What's new and exciting? I do this with a part of my men's group. I do this with my mastermind chapter. I do this in our accelerator program. It's very, very powerful. Sometimes 1, sometimes 2 minutes is also acceptable, depending on who it is. And make sure that you're not just talking about yourself. This is for everyone who's listening. The other one where you could also use the 1 minute, I don't know if you're using this right now, you know, Tariq, but it's taking your WhatsApp and scrolling back 3 to 6 months. And do that once every couple of weeks. Scroll back 6 months and find 5 people that you like them. They're cool. They're like, you had a great conversation. Send them a minute out of the blue. Now, the trick is this. Don't make the message like you need something. Make the message very neutral, and also let them know in the message how busy you are. So you can say, I'm sorry if I'm not going to respond to you right away, because they might respond right away, but you're like, whoa, I'm overwhelmed. I don't want so many messages, Gil. That's okay. You don't have to respond to them right away. You've sent them a 1 minute voice message. They heard you. You don't need anything right now. Maybe next week on a random Sunday, you can allocate 30 minutes to looking at some of those people's messages. You don't even click on them. You leave them as unread, and then you get to them. It's a very powerful hack for reviving older relationships. That is 6 to 8 times easier in time and resource than waking up a new relationship.
It's an amazing piece of advice, Gil, because I meet loads of people. I'm a very warm person, as you know. I'm a huggy, touchy-feely kind of a person, and I feel so often that I let all my relationships literally, I'm holding them like that, and they fall through my fingers, and I still do. I need to be a bit more disciplined, and I think what I need to do is to convert this 15 minutes into 30 minutes a day, and then build it up over time. Because that's the other thing I learned from you, was to be able to build and be methodical in your follow-up. And that is not inauthentic. That's just good thinking and caring about people and basically following through.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I'll actually see if I can turn that into a question to how do you not let those people, go through like no time and, no time to follow up. Where a lot of people tell me, Gil, I met these amazing people, but I don't have an immediate business opportunity with them, so I lose track of them. I think that keeping track of people, following up with people on social media, sometimes even asking an assistant to help you. Like I have 2 networking angels. I currently see myself as one of the leading trainers in the world to train a business assistant how to become a networking angel. So I basically train entrepreneurs assistants, not myself only. I have a team that does that now, on how they can help us stay authentic, but maintain a network of, thousands or tens of thousands. I have a very, very large network in the world, and I'm managing myself. Without my team, I'm able to manage a network of over 1,000 people, regularly being in touch with them. And my team, I've created systems in place, which I love sharing with people, that are able to still maintain relations with thousands and thousands of people that are not hot, but they're warm enough that if one day I suddenly have a client in the automotive industry, suddenly I have a client in a jewelry or food industry, a random industry that's not necessarily on my focus, I can very easily activate a few connections that I knew for 5, 7 years, 10 years, and they're in the food industry and they're in the jewelry industry. And right away, I'm adding value and cross-pollinating between people who need the help.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's an example of the last 2 weeks. I went to a conference of the number of cards that I have, and frankly, I haven't gone through them. And this is what I mean about missing out, because people.
Let me tell you in 2 minutes what to do for everyone who's listening. This is a message into the future, because AI is going to help us. Whoever is listening to the message in the bottle in the future, AI is coming in strong now. We're already using AI in every one of my departments in the company. I'm inspiring them to say, hey, don't allow AI to ever replace you. Just be strong in managing AI. That's it. Be strong in asking for AI advice. Be strong and be confident to have an AI assistant. And what I do believe that we will have AI networking support. I aim to be there on the front row of those experts in the world that understand how to get artificial intelligence to support us to network, not just effectively, but like without wasting time and without wasting our energy. Something like business cards, for example, what I've realized in the past is that you can create a very simple automated system to have all of them know who you are. So something as simple as you taking a picture of all of them together. You can have a picture of like 30, 40 cards at a time, taking a picture of all of them. If it's a good phone, high resolution, easy. And you send that to someone, whether it's an agency, whether it's a virtual assistant, whether it's your assistant, and you give them multiple tasks to do. Again, in the future, AI could do all of this. Today, you have a human being that could sit somewhere. My virtual assistant sits in the Philippines. I got one in Bali. It's great. I got one in Moscow. It's great. So covering different time zones. And what happens is they know specific steps to take to follow up with people on LinkedIn, to follow up with some of them by email. I could put a little star on a few of them. I could put a P1, priority 1. Let's send them a message the next morning. I don't have time to follow up with everyone today. And also, if I follow up myself, I'm responsible for the back and forth ping pong. I am responsible to book a meeting. I am responsible to adjust the meeting. No. I want my assistant. I will say to her, these 5 people, I want to try to set up a meeting within the next 2 weeks. An example that I had this many cards after the G20 here in November. Last year, we had the G20, the B20, G20, the O20. It was amazing. I met many presidents. I met many officials, many ministers. I came home, put all the cards on a massive table. And what I did is I literally took my phone and I went through them slowly as a video, and I spoke. I don't remember these people. I remember this person. I gave them context, put these keywords next to this person, follow up with this person for this event, invite this person for this event, do this for this. These guys I don't remember. These guys just randomly gave me their cards. This person, yes, very important. Follow up with them, send them a copy of my book. And I just literally spoke, and it was in the flow. Now, how long would it take you to make such a video with like even 100 cards? Not long. No, it's just a few minutes. The fact that it was done and it was sent, my team already knew what to do. And you're in the same position, Tariq. So allow me and everyone else that's listening, allow us to help you systemize not having business cards that just go into a garbage bowl at the end of the month.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you very much, because I think all of us actually have this problem of abundance of cards, but not abundance of connections.
It's abundance of potential opportunities. That's what excites me. Each human is multiple opportunities, from a friendship to a mentor to a future business partner, anything. It's not fair to meet a human being because the universe gave us a gift. The universe, God, whatever everyone believes in, gave us a gift. It brought this human being into our space. And then we gave that human being a gift. We gave them attention. And they gave us a gift. They offered us to exchange information. There's so many gifts have been given. Not putting that card in a random box in the corner is like having all these massive Christmas gifts around the table or whatever holidays everyone celebrates, and taking all these gifts and saying, just put them in the corner of the room, let them accumulate some dust, and maybe one day I'll open them. It's not fair.
Yeah. You know, you have reached mastery, of course. One can see that. And I think a lot of that reference comes from people like Tony Robbins and others, where I dare say you've learned by osmosis or by direct connection, dealing with some of these amazing, amazing people. My follow-on question from here is mastermind groups, because I know that's another something special that you do, because I believe, and I work with a lot of boards and C-level teams, and I dare say so do you. Boards to me are not the structure for future growth and development. Mastermind groups sort of are. What are your thoughts in actually formulating a group or rethinking a board structure into a mastermind group structure?
Thank you for that question. It's great. You know, masterminds have been something I've been really intrigued by for about 8 years now. And when I got intrigued, that was just because Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, he got me thinking about the 1 + 1. What does that equal? Some people say 1 + 1 = 11. I think so. Part of we have an icon that follows in all of our companies, and it's kind of 3 heads. And these 3 heads for me is when a relationship is built, when 2 come together, a 3rd is created. That is the relationship. So what is a mastermind? A mastermind is an exponential growth from this 1 + 1, because a good mastermind is 7, 8, 9 people. I believe in those numbers around the table. A mastermind could be 100 people, but really the accountability partners, the actual mastermind session itself, I believe 7, 8, 9 is ideal. What I've been doing, because I was so intrigued, I started joining different masterminds, learning the methodology, seeing what works, what doesn't, realizing very quickly that most masterminds were not actually masterminds. It was more of a club. It was more of a one person speaking on stage for 80% of the time and then saying, okay, everyone goes on tables now and you guys talk about it and take some action plans. No, that's not a mastermind. For me, I've broken down masterminds into algorithms. I went to a festival about 5 years ago called No Mind Festival. Very high-end festival in Sweden. Some very impressive people, a lot more spiritual people, but very successful people. And every single day at 12 o'clock, they took 5 minutes. All activities stopped. Everyone got in groups. No, they took groups of 5 people for 1 hour. Groups of 5 people for 1 hour, came together, different groups every day. And they had a sharing session using time. And that intrigued me because in the past, I've never been in a format of a workshop of a mastermind where time was the most important part of a structure. So today, masterminds is something I do with many corporations, with 3 governments, with many countless entrepreneurial companies, organizations, business clubs, associations, where I tell them, let's come up with the right formula or multiple formulas where the mastermind would have the most potential of being effective, being open-hearted, being clear, being strategic, whatever we need. So for example, if you have a group of entrepreneurs that want to find ways to supporting each other, wanting to find ways of giving value to each other, the easiest thing to do in such an opportunity is to take 7, 8, 9 people together, tell them there's time. There's maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And then what I do is I break down the time based on how we can help people. My 1, 2, 3 methodology is something I like the most. So usually when we use the 1, 2, 3 methodology, 1 minute is for asking for support, asking for help. 2 minutes is for clarifying the opportunity, clarifying the challenge. And then 3 minutes is to be able to gain value. Now, what happens in my masterminds, people understand the discipline and the power around 1 minute, utilizing time effectively. People understand that there's sometimes time for silence. It's great. I don't need to talk. Why? Let's go around the circle. It's amazing. I could just be an observer. In my masterminds, of course, there is no phones allowed on the table, except for one person who's counting it. And the exciting part from our masterminds is what I call them, the collective genius. Because when you're activating the collective genius, you don't need to have successful people around you. You need to have just different people around you, and even better when they don't know you, because you're creating a diversity. And what I learned the most about masterminds is something I learned from nature. During COVID, especially, and before COVID, I already started getting very interested in edible gardens and what is permaculture and what is food forests. And I've learned that plants that, like, my garden is massive at home, but most of it is edible. They like to mix things up. The eggplant likes to be next to the berries and next to the papaya and next to the cucumbers because they support each other in different ways, from the sun, from water support, from nutrients. When you plant different plants in nature, they don't start networking and talking to each other. They go underneath the ground. It's unseen networking, and they bond and connect with each other. Same thing as a mastermind. In a mastermind, when we have an algorithm and a formula to follow, what we're actually doing is we're creating a structure that creates harmony in the network itself. So even if it's just for 2 hours, you're creating harmony, because it's not anyone talking, going to the bathroom every 5 minutes, picking up a phone. We're creating harmony in the network, which means we're allowing nature or humans to grow in the best potential grounds. And we're also giving everyone an opportunity to be heard, to ask for help, to support others. And that's why I like a diversity when having masterminds. So even when I work with corporations, sometimes we'll have, just a mastermind for the sales team. Sometimes I'll say, give me one person from the accounting, one person from marketing, one from customer service. Let's make sure this team supports each other. They learn how to ask for help. They learn how to trust each other in a different way. They learn how to look up to each other. They learn how to see each other as humans, not just as colleagues.
That's incredible, because I think we need to do more of this, Gil, and I dare say we'll collaborate in the future, because a lot of the work that I do on boards, and I dare say you do the same thing, is mindset shift. It's being able to get them to think differently and think about, when we talk about the future, and this is about the future, projecting our voice into the future, is getting them to open up their minds to be able to absorb new stuff. And I think these techniques could be really, really powerful. A couple of quick points. One of them, obviously, now in the world today, there is a huge trust deficit. We don't trust our organizations, we don't trust our boards, we don't trust our Congress, we don't trust our institutions, we don't even trust our banks. I mean, banks are going down these days. A very close friend of trust is truth and ethics. So if you take this trust, truth, and ethics as the core of how we need to be building organizations and relationships and people and future, what are your thoughts on how to build our trust and how to overcome that trust deficit?
I would need a moment to think about where I am in that. So during COVID, I launched a successful program called the Ethical Deal Maker, teaching people that using networking effectively, authentically, to make deals, to bring deals, to attract deals and close deals is completely okay. Closing deals is not my life mission. It's not what I live for. You know, I don't live for money, but it's really cool if you can build amazing relationships. And so many of them want to have deals with you. You're like, no, thank you to all of you, but yes, thank you for cherry picking some. This is wonderful. So, and that is becoming an opportunity magnet. Learning how to become an ethical deal maker, I think, comes from trust. And trust for me is built with, again, building relationships where I could do something for them and I could, they're expecting something and I could deliver. I think trust is a little bit lost in the world these days because of transparency. We don't see a lot of what's really going on. We see people on social media, but we don't really know who they are. You see their happy moments. You don't really know what they're going through. So many big influencers of the world are not happy. So many Hollywood celebrities are full of drugs because they're unhappy or they drink, So I don't know those people, so I can't judge them. But I can tell you that today, looking at trust, looking at truth, I think it's more of an individual stance. It's, what do I want the world to know me for? I personally find it a lot easier to tell the truth because it's easier to remember. That's something I kind of just learned through. It's just really easy to, there's no need to lie. Do I sometimes tell my kids white lies about why they can't have a chocolate or why they can't have the iPad? Or yeah, I've caught myself on occasion saying a white lie, but especially now in the last 3 years, I've been saying, actually, no, Gil, that's not good. Stop. So I'm catching myself. I'm still human. Catch myself saying, no, that's not, no need of, like, find a way to tell the truth, even if it hurts someone. And that's been a challenge for me, yeah, to be honest. Ethics is also a very important discussion because I've learned through COVID, when COVID hit, I'm not going to mention any names, but some of the biggest, promoters and speakers in the world that I was working with at the time completely let us down. And I get why, I understand it, but suddenly all business ethics were out the window. And when I had discussions with people in different countries, I quickly understood that there's no such thing as business ethics, because we've all learned business in a different way. We all come from different cultures. We've all have different sized businesses. We all have different expectations. It's like, it's completely messed up. To me, it's more about having open communication. That's how you can achieve ethics in a business. I think that's how you can achieve honesty and truth. Have honest, upfront, completely vulnerable at times, confrontational at times, open communication, even when it's hard. Do that with your husbands and wives, do that with your partners, do that with your colleagues, do that with your investors. When you find it hardest to do it because you're avoiding the truth, and that's gonna lose trust, that's when you need to have a sharing session and just put your heart out there.
Thank you for that. As a futurist, when I'm presenting, and I do a lot of keynotes and so on, one of my first slides is exactly trust, truth, and ethics. And I said, this is going to be the most important thing as we look into the future. My future message is going to be around that. Closely followed by empathy and values. And I'll give you my context on that question. That with ChatGPT now and GPT-4, which has come out today, the world is fundamentally going to change in terms of how we absorb information and so on. And my view is that as we become more and more technological, anything that can be digitized will be, because it'll be 1,000 times faster and 1,000,000 times cheaper. But anything and everything that cannot be digitized, love, harmony, connection, common sense, critical thinking, judgment, all of these elements are what we are as human beings. And you talk about the human connection, you talk about mindfulness, which is amazing. My thing is that future leadership is about these key elements becoming an integral part of our lives, and for us to be able to train these muscles more and be able to work with that. So the question really to you is, how do we teach our children? How do we teach, you've got 3 kids, to really focus on these human elements, human attributes as we build the future?
My honest answer is I don't know, but I'm definitely figuring it out as I'm going. Definitely. I'm a young father. My kids are young, 6, 4, and 2 years old. So just for the last 6 years, I've been a father. The last 2 years, I've had 3 kids. It's a whole different, ball game of learning. When my daughter would turn 4, I taught her about networking, the importance of, showing confidence and asking people for their names and offering people help and connecting with people and inviting people to play with you. And I've taught her some very, very simple aspects, because I've learned that we've never learned how to make friends, and losing that authenticity, losing that human touch is something we've definitely done through social media, because people can make a post that you can read in one way and I can read in a completely different way. And everything that person was trying to do was trying to get clicks. And I don't think clicks are authentic. People now are adjusting their content based on an algorithm that a company gave you. So based on an algorithm on Facebook or Instagram, people completely adjust the photo and the algorithm, the video, to make sure that more people get it. But it doesn't really mean that those people are relevant to me. It doesn't mean that those people are my community members. It doesn't mean that I want to have any relation with those people. And I've realized that a few years back, and I stopped. I'm deleting every single day. I have a team that deletes people from my followers, even on social media. I don't want random people to follow me if I don't want to build a relationship with them. So I think, one, let's not be afraid of AI. It's actually a conversation I was ready to have with Elon Musk. Elon Musk was supposed to be in Bali for B20 and the G20. And we had a mastermind a couple of weeks before with some of the people I know here, very, very successful conscious entrepreneurs. And one of the questions that was brought on the table, what would you ask Elon Musk? And I said the conversation for me would be, Elon, you've said on stage many, many times, and many others, the fear you have around AI. Yeah. My position is this. Number one fear that human beings have is public speaking, or if you mix it up, is speaking publicly. If we authentically learn how to network deeper, and we learn how to use time to network effectively, authentically, I think that there is a potential, and this is the futurist in me, for humans to surpass AI, just because we will be able to network with each other in a way that computers will never. And some people could say, Gil, this is cheesy when you say it, but I don't think it is. It's a soul-to-soul connection. And you can meet someone for just 5 minutes, and to network with them effectively, you can have a soul-to-soul connection that AI will never be able to surpass.
I personally think that we already are ahead of AI. And the question really is that we need to maintain our lead, but maintain our lead while playing a different game. If we play the AI game of speed and repetition and technology, we will lose. But if we play the game of context and connection and feelings and emotions, we will win. Because generative AI, no matter how sentient it becomes, I think our human connections are still way, way stronger than that. So I totally endorse that. Can you share, I mean, you shared an Elon story, but a couple of quick stories about some of the crazy, amazing people that you've met all over the world. If there are a couple of good stories that come to your mind.
So, you know, every story needs a punchline, and needs a lesson, and needs something that I've taken from. And I have all these stories with all of my role models, you know, and role models started from a younger position in the professional life, you know, someone like Brian Tracy that I looked up to for many years, and Eckhart Tolle and Tony Robbins and Richard Branson, all these people that I've managed to spend time with is amazing. Choosing one is not really fair. Do you want to choose?
Amongst these, well, how about Tony Robbins?
So that's the easiest one, because I started listening to Tony at the age of 18. And at that stage, I didn't have enough money to buy his online courses. This is quite a, 25 years ago. So I ended up buying his big course, Unleash the Power Within, online. It was not online, it was like CDs. And that ended up taking advantage of the 30-day guarantee, money back guarantee. So I took it, copied it, and sent it back. Now, maybe it was something about it. Maybe it was karma. Maybe it was, the fact that I listened to it more than 100 times. 10 years ago, there was an opportunity for my wife and I to become promoters at a Tony Robbins event. And there's something that when it's kind of, I jumped into it kind of thing, like I owed him. Like, it's not like, hey, I took advantage of you. I copied, I sent 100 times, never paid you. Let me do it. And we brought some people to his event, and it was a really special time in our life because we didn't have a lot of money, and bringing those people to the event actually helped us come to the event for free and actually pay for our expenses. And that journey was a 7-year journey. It was amazing. We ended up bringing thousands of people to his event every single time. I remember it took me 2 years until I finally managed to get access to him and finally get to meet him. And I was super nervous that time. And my wife was laughing on the side saying, wow, you're not a networking guy. Come on. Like, you don't need, it's like the cat caught my tongue. I didn't know what to say. And I was blah, blah, blah about this and that. But he was nice and friendly, and like gave me a big hug. He clearly saw that I was nervous. And what was really special is because we became one of the biggest promoters in the world for Tony. And then in 2017, we became the #1 regional promoter for Tony Robbins. I ended up seeing him every year at all these events, 3-4 times a year. And what was really special, it became like super easy, where I started looking at Tony not as a role model, oh my God, untouchable, but like, how do I add value to you? Like, you're constantly adding value to me. Because of you, I've built a multi-million-dollar business. Like, how do I add value to you? Not just bringing people to your event. And that became really cool, like really cool discussion. And I brought it up with him. He started inviting me to private meetings, and I went to his hotel one time to talk to him about this. And so like, I got to know, how do I add value to you? He's like, yeah, you're doing a great job, Gil. You're doing this for us. I'm like, no. You, not your business. And because we really revolutionized how a partner should be with him. We branded our community. We did activities before and after. We really took care of our delegations that came to our event. So we really raised the standards of the whole industry, and he loved it. I was like, no, I want to make a change. And he's like, let me think about it. And I met him a few months later in his house. He invited me for lunch for a one-on-one meeting. I ended up saying, I don't want lunch because that would distract us. Let's just talk for an hour if that's okay. And he ended up asking for a discussion. We talked about masterminds. We talked about networking. And for me, that was a breakthrough moment in my life as someone who is so humble and so beautiful and so big in my eyes and so wow, coming back and asking me for some advice and learning more about what it is that I do outside of this business. And like, wow, that's interesting. How do you do that? And just like you asking me some questions today, suddenly I have someone like Tony asking me for some questions that to me is beautiful. Like I love the man. He's done so much for me. I want to add value to him. So I think such moments are like, they ground us. They help us understand that, every human, doesn't matter how successful they are as a human. And by trying to do your research, like when I met Richard Branson the first time, I knew I was going to meet him. I did my research of what does Richard want to talk to me about today? And when I walked into this green room before the event started, everybody is asking Richard like random template questions that everyone always asks Richard, and you could read it in his book and you can read it in he's in front of you. Why are you asking the same questions? And I did my research, and when I found this window of opportunity where there was a moment of silence, because some of these people in the room were like crazy VIPs, 2 billionaires in the room in front of me, I wanted to be like respectful to them. I was like, Richard, like I raised my hand, I kind of stood on my tippy toes, like to stand out from this big active crowd. It was like, I've read recently that you've been having challenges to launch a Virgin airline between Moscow and London. And I'm curious, maybe there's myself or someone in this room can help you do that so we can have more people coming back and forth you using your great airline. Suddenly you see the whole room looking at me like, what the, you flipped the whole room around, Gil. Like you offered us as a service to him. And this one guy who I'm still very good friends with today, a billionaire, standing right next to me, looks up at me. He's like, okay, me and you, we meet after. Like literally a billionaire thing, we need like, Gil, you just did something that's not just asking Richard to talk. It's asking Richard, hey, there could be a business opportunity here, but hey, we live in Moscow. This was in Moscow at the time. We live in Moscow. You're having challenges. I'm sure there's someone in this room that can help you. So such situations of networking requires you to think outside of the box of doing your research in advance, being curious what the person needs, finding that opportunity to speak out. Don't just sit in a room with your favorite person in the room and not speak out, And the last thing about Richard was fun. At the end of his little kind of backstage before he went on the big stage, and like everybody wanted to do photos. And his head of PR said, no, guys, we don't have time. Like he needs to go. He's like, let's do one group photo. We took one group photo. And then as he was walking out, I said, listen, thank you very much. Still, I managed to exchange business cards with him because I said to him very briefly, by the way, I take 1,000+ people to Tony Robbins events, one of your friends, every single year from Moscow to London. I'd love to be able to fill up one of your planes or even two as soon as you get it done. He's like, wow, that's interesting. Richard Branson gave me his business card. It was awesome. But even more to add to that, because I wanted a photo with him, wasn't enough. Nobody was getting selfies. I said, Richard, my wife just finished reading your book. She's your biggest fan. She's never going to believe I met with you. He's like, okay, let's quickly take a selfie. I was like, yes, Richard Branson asked me to take a selfie. This is amazing. So in every opportunity, you could bring it back to achieving your goals, but doing it in a non-selfish way, doing it in a mindful way. Think about them. They're humans. They have needs. They want to connect as well.
Let me take you to your 100th birthday, put you in a time capsule, and you are today celebrating your 100th birthday. You have sent all of these messages into the future, and you look back from there. What are we celebrating? What are we talking about? What has Gil done? How has he impacted the world? How has he made a difference?
Very, very beautiful question. I'm 100 years old. I would like to continue seeing myself as a great student in the depths of human networking. And I want to know that, in 50 years from now, I've managed to influence billions of people in the world to use very simple hacks, methodologies, habits, and rituals to not only empower them to become a better, more successful, more happy human being, but to really build stunning, just beautiful relationships around them, to not fear new relationships, but to embrace new relationships. And I believe in 50 years, it's not just going to be, you know, local relationships or country relationships or global relationships. I'm a believer in everything that's out there. So I hope that we're going to have interplanetary relationships. And Gil Petersil was there, a part of the networking, interplanetary networking cultural board, where we helped people network. And it's actually another conversation I want to have with Elon Musk one day. Hey, do you have a plan on how to help people network on Mars? Building a colony is not enough. If they don't have networking games and, you know, introduction games and support games and sharing sessions and master hard dinners, the whole Mars colony is going to break apart. So, you know, I want to be there.
Amazing. What a wonderful way to come to the climax of this particular session. Gil, it's been an absolute pleasure. You shared with us your 100th birthday. And interesting, you know, networking on Mars is an amazing future voice that you had there. And you're so right. I mean, you go in a spaceship, you know, you'll be working together within the spaceship and the colonies themselves. So your skills and your human connection, and, you know, bringing your heart and your soul into this thing. And you are a very spiritual man, and I could see that. It's an absolute honor to be with you. Any final point, anything that I may have missed, anything that you'd like to sort of leave as a message for the people in that bottle as we go forward?
Live with passion, connect with love, you know, and ask for help from people who are there to help you.
Gil, I am so grateful and genuinely from my heart, and any way I can serve you, you know, I'm always there, and we will certainly get together again. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Love today very much.